One particular Sunday in April at age 33, I woke up that Sunday and I just remembered feeling it wasn't that I didn't want to go to church. It was just that I was sick and tired of going to church and then just walking away from it all frustrated because I'm going nowhere. And I remembered even saying to the Lord, it's like, Lord, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what I'm missing. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm getting nowhere. And you have this demand for holiness. You demand holiness, and I can't do it. I'm trying. I'm giving this my all, but I just can't do it. I give up. I waved the white towel. I was like, I'm not going to go sit through another sermon that I already know I can't adhere to perfectly. Why
Mm.
waste my time? Well, out of the blue, that was the first time that I really heard the Lord speak to me. I've had people ask, like, no, how do you know it's Jesus? How do you know it's him and not just like you thinking thoughts to yourself? The only way I can answer it is everything stops. You feel his presence.
Mm.
Jesus has a presence. Just like someone that you know deeply and dearly, when they walk in the room, you just know. You don't even have to see him. Oh, so and so. Yeah, that's Jesus. His presence is there. And when he speaks, it's a spirit to spirit. It's not like in your brain thing. His spirit is speaking to your spirit. And he said to me, and he speaks so lovingly, with such compassion and understanding, but yet power and wisdom at the same time that it makes you want to get up and go, cower, right? Let's go. And he said, Joel, you need to be in church. I know you don't feel like being in church, but you need to go. I want you to be in fellowship with your brothers and sisters right now. Go. Enter into my presence. And I said, all right. And I'll go with a good attitude. Everything in me doesn't want to go, but truth always trumps feelings. So let's go. Let's do this. And so I go to church and the worship song, people are singing. And oh, my heart just felt so dead. And I just remember just it from within. I'm like, Lord, I'm going to worship you. I'm so down in the dumps depressed right now, but I just praised him with all that I could. I'm going to
Mm.
praise you in the storm. I'm going to praise you in the ups and I'm going to praise you in the downs. I'm going to praise you at all times. All times. Your praise will continually be in my mouth. And that finished up. So the pastor, he comes out, and the sermon was looking for love in all the wrong places. So instantly I'm like, okay, I get the gist, but okay. And he starts, and he's in just minutes. He just got started, and he's talking when all of a sudden he stops mid sentence and he looks up ahead, and his eyes are wide, and he's
Mm.
just staring, not saying a word. And after a minute, we're kind of looking at each other, thinking, "Is he okay? What is going on?" And then it's like he blinks and he comes back to, and he's looking at us, and if his eyes were like, "Whoa, wow!" And he said, "You guys, I apologize. I have to stop the service right now. This has never happened to me before." And he
Mm.
said, "The Lord just stopped me. He said we need to stop the service and we need to come before His throne in prayer
Mm.
right now." That's exactly what he said, you guys. And I'm just asking everybody, please, let's just close our eyes. Please, let's bow our heads and let's enter into the Lord's presence in prayer.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, let's do it. It was not strange, it was just caught everybody kind of off guard, but we're like, oh, let's do that. Little did I know. So I'm closing my eyes and I'm bowing my head, having no idea what was about to happen next. As I'm closing my eyes and I'm bowing my head at the exact same time, and as things are going dark physically, spiritually, I'm raising my head and I'm opening my eyes, and
Mm.
everything is becoming bright. A brightness that I don't think it could be found in this universe. Brightness, and it wasn't a blinding brightness, but it was the very light and the glory of God.
Mm.
The only way I could describe it, and this doesn't touch it, is if you were to stand right in front of a supernova as it went off. It was such a power and
Mm.
a glory and a majesty. And all I could say was, oh, wow. And the presence of God, I never saw him, obviously. I was only allowed to see his glory.
Mm.
His glory filled saturated, consumed, and made everything alive.
Wow.
I know that, and there had been times years ago when nobody was looking, and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm thinking, what is this deal with like God wanting to be worshipped? Isn't that kind of
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic? Hey, y'all worship this way.
Mm.
And it is not like that. Worshiping God in one aspect is when we get to celebrate how
Mm.
good He is. He truly is good. He is so good that even Jesus in his earthly ministry, when a rich young ruler is trying to impress Jesus, and he says, "Oh, good rabbi, good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus is like, "You don't even know what you're saying. There is
Mm.
one who is good, and that is God. He is good, and He wants you and I to experience the fullness of His goodness towards us, a goodness that we don't deserve and we could never deserve. It has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with that's who He is. And this light just came over me and penetrated me and consumed everything. And I began looking around because obviously I'm like, I am not in Kansas anymore. And so I'm looking around and I realize I'm on this grassy hilltop, pretty big, and I'm standing alone. I'm just alone. I'm on this hilltop. And as I'm starting to see more and more, I am just blown away at the absolute pristine, perfected beauty of absolutely everything.
Mm.
And I'm seeing these flowers, and they're like families, and they were just going back and forth. And I realized that's not the wind moving them.
Mm.
They're swaying in this dancing, and they're singing. These
Wow.
things aren't just alive biologically, they're alive and they're all singing. And each
Mm.
flower has a one harmony and the other flower has another, and they're perfectly complementing, and they're just singing the praises of God and just glorifying Him. And the more I'm looking, everything is praising God. The rocks, the trees, the water, the birds, the fish, absolutely everything is worshiping Him together at all times, and there's no stopping. It's so glorious. It's a
Mm.
music that I do my best, but I can't write a song that begins to touch it. If you were to hear that kind of music here now, you would fall to your knees. Your knees would buckle, and it would just stop everything. The most beautiful harmonies. It was as if looking back on it, it's like you could just, even one blade of grass, just one, perfect, beautiful, living and alive. I could just lay there for thousands of years and just marvel at one blade. And if I
Wow.
had just rubbed my finger across it, it would start giggling. Its giggle would make me start giggling, and my giggle would make the rest of the grass start giggling. And the next thing you know, the whole entire hill would just be in this uproar of glorious, joyous laughter of
Mm.
how wonderful the Lord is. That's
Mm.
why I'm here, because you can, in the midst of the struggles, in the midst of the trials, when you are at rock bottom, when you're done, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. He
Mm.
is there, I promise you.